Hello, can you hear? Okay, okay. So thank you very much. Let's start our session, right? So please, if you can hear me, just let me know that you can hear me, so that we could continue, right? Yeah. So we're going to go ahead. I'm sorry for the challenges that we had. Uh, I hope you can still hear me. Okay, so we're going to go ahead, right? So of course, welcome to today's session. I can see somebody saying not very audible. I hope that it's much better now. Yeah, so we're going to go ahead, right? And as always, welcome to today's session. If you have any questions, as usual, feel free to ask the questions. We're going to be there to respond to your questions. So my name is Simply Sikadi. I'll be your facilitator for today's session. And of course, uh, I'm not here alone. I'm here with Diana. So I'm joining from Yaoundé, Cameroon, and Diana is joining from Douala, Cameroon, right? So we're going to go ahead. So today we'll be looking at um, using data, driving more sales with data and insights. That's what we're going to be looking at today. How do you drive more sales with data and insights? Well, I'm sure that we have probably done other topics already. We've probably done other topics related to digital marketing already, and we're going to be picking up from the places, or from what we've studied in the past. So if you have any questions, of course, always feel free to let us know, right? Yeah. So we're going to be looking at driving, you know, more sales using data. Uh, it's very important to notify that actually there is no business without data, right? It's very important to notify that there is no business without data. If you don't have data, you're not an existing business, right? It's in fact many businesses, thrive today because of data. That's why if you're doing a certain business, you're selling a particular product or a particular service, it's absolute that you keep the record of the data of your customers, right? You keep the record of, who your customers are, what did they buy, what they bought, you know, and all those kind of stuff. It's very, very important, right? That you keep all such data, right? I can see a comment, by Diana Serial. Oh yeah, she says, and please send a reminder to those who are supposed to be here. Yes, please. If you know anybody who is supposed to be in this class, kindly help us send a reminder. I can also see a number of people in the chat. Hello to Fiona Ataho. Hello to Grace Tembo. Hello to Tofias Lucky. Hello to uh, Isaac Otikiro. I hope I'm pronouncing the names well. Hello to Fiona Ataho. Hello to Swift. Uh, yeah. Hello to Namara Caroline. Yes. So today we're going to be looking at data, and in our course outline for today, we'll be seeing what is data and insight. Importance of data for a business, data sources, right? Where can you get data? Where can you source for data? Then knowing the right questions to ask. Well, this is actually a very important aspect because most times for you to get data, you have to ask questions, right? And so you have to know the kinds of questions you need to get data. And then we'll look at some tools that you can use to, analyze your data, for some tools for data and insights. And also, we're going to see some tools that you can use to analyze and present your data. So that's the course outline for today. And of course, we'll start by looking at, what is data. Isaac Otikiro says you got it well. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, so let's look at what is data. What is data? Data is simply facts or information used usually to calculate, analyze, or plan something, right? So data is usually just facts or just information, right? And it could be any fact. It could be price, it could be weight, it could be cost, it could be number of employees, product names, registration marks, tax codes, whatever it is, right? That's data. And of course, data is not important until you start having insight, right? Data only becomes relevant when you start having insight. That's why insight is being able to see and understand something clearly, right? So, most times, you're going to have data, right? And then you're going to use the data to have insights. I don't know if you understand. So data is just random information. Maybe there are 20,000 people in I don't know, in Ghana, 40,000 shoe lovers in, I don't know, in Nigeria. But how important is that information, right? That information is only important if I'm able to use that data to come up with an insight that will ease decision making, right? So basically, that's basically what data and insights are, right? So I would like to know, right? I would like to know whether you've ever used data to get insights about anything personal or business. So tell me, so if have you ever tried to, to source for data or to use data, to analyze some form of data? So if it's the case, just put in the chat yes. If it's not the case, put in the chat no, right? So if you have used data before to get some personal analysis, put in the chat yes. If you have never done it, put in the chat no. Please, I would like the session to be interactive, so that I'll be able to see, in real time what's happening. So if you've used data before, say yes. If you've not used data before, say no, right? Great. I can see a number of responses. Isaac says no. Victoria says yes, I have. Interesting. I would love to know, Victoria, what tool did you use? What tool did you use to get the data? And maybe, if possible, what tool did you use to analyze the data? So please, you might want to share that with us, Victoria, what tools you used. I can also see Swift Bella says yes, I have used the polls data. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, the polls data to get insights. Interesting. So Victoria, maybe you might want to share with us what tool you use, and also, uh, what tool you use to also do investigation or data analysis, right? So the importance of data, like we said, business doesn't exist without data, literally. If you're a business and you don't have data, you're not a business, because data will help you a lot, especially when you want to scale, right? So having data is very, very, very important. And what are some of the advantages of data? Data will help you find new customers, for example, right? Data will help you increase your customer retention. Data will help you improve your customer service, because if you have data, for example, if you get to maybe call your customers to find out whether they were satisfied or not. By the way, in business, it's completely not advisable to to not talk with your customers. Any customer you don't discuss with, you will not be able to retain, right? You cannot retain a customer you don't discuss with. So it's important to discuss with the customer, find out their challenges. If you sell a product to a customer, call the customer and tell the person, hey, ever since you bought this product, did you have any particular challenge? Is there something you think I can do to improve on my service and all of that? When you begin to talk with your customers, you're going to retain them, and you're going to improve your customer service. Data also helps us to better our marketing efforts. Imagine, for example, that you collected data and you found out, for example, that most people that purchase your products, are found maybe in Accra, Ghana, or they are people between the age of 18 and 24, or they are found in a specific community, right? What will you do? You're most likely um, to put in more marketing efforts in that direction, right? You're most likely to put in more marketing efforts in that particular direction. And that's why data is very important. So data can also help you track your social media interactions. We're going to look at that. It can also help you to predict your sales and trends, because when you start recording your data, you're going to find out that, oh, there are some moments in the year where you seem to sell more than some other moments, right? Maybe you sell more in February, maybe you sell more in July. If you have not been recording your data, you will not be able to know these dates, and so you will not be able to make, any progress, right? So data will help you in so many ways, right? So many ways. Uh, Data will help you find new customers. You can use data, tools, to create a customer acquisition strategy. For example, if maybe let's say you're selling a particular product, right? As you begin to discuss with your customers, you're going to be able to understand how they feel. You're going to be able to understand the challenges they face, right? And the more you solve these challenges, the more they will recommend you, because most times when a customer feels satisfied, they are going to recommend you to other customers, right? And that's how you're going to get new customers, right? It will help you to increase your customer retention, like we explained. As customers begin to feel more and more loved, or more and more taken care of, they will begin to trust you, right? And they will begin to buy more from you, and they will begin to cause even others to buy more from you. So these are some of the advantages. It will help you improve on your customer service. How? As you analyze customer complaints and feedbacks and ratings, and recommendations, you will improve on your services. And sometimes I've noticed that there are companies where I've noticed that there are companies that don't really take care of customer complaints. Like, there are some companies that you write a complaint, you send to them, they reply after one month. That's if at all they even love you enough to reply. And that's not good. Don't be a company that replies to the customer's complaints late. When you reply to a customer's complaint late, the person will feel bad and will not feel like buying from you. So you have to make sure that if you have customers, you reply to their complaints as fast as possible. That's very, very important, right? So data will also help you to better your marketing efforts, because data will give you first-hand knowledge about your market, right? Like I said, imagine that you knew that those that purchase your products are between the age of 18 and 24, or majority of them. What will you do? You will want to amplify your marketing in that direction, right? You will want to target more people of that specific age, right? And it will help you to save money, because you're not going to be spending money on areas that will not be fruitful, right? So data will also help you in tracking your social media interactions. Now, this is for those who are online, right? If you're online, you're going to notice that your pages usually have insights. Maybe if you're on Facebook, Instagram, they usually have insights. and you can check these insights to know exactly how many people follow you, where they come from, in which town they are, which kind of people they are. you know you can follow the insights of your social media to have a lot of information, right? A lot of information. You can even know when your customers are most engaged, at what time your customers are most engaged online, right? So we're going to be looking at all of that. Data can also help you to predict sales trends, and this is very important. There are some people, for example, they have companies, but if you ask them, for example, how much money do they think they'll be able to make this year, they'll not be able to answer, right? The reason they'll not be able to answer is not that they are incompetent, it's because they've not tracked, data from last year. Because if you have data from last year, year before last, you'll be able to predict the sales of next year. So data will help you a lot at the level of prediction. Very, very important. Yeah, so we've come to the first pause of our questions. We have close to 40 minutes left, and I'm very conscious of time, right? So we're going to finish on time. So please, if you have any particular questions, feel free to uh, let us know in the chat. If there is anything that, in the first phase that you did not understand, as always, feel free to let me know in the chat. So I can see Victoria Adams says it was a final year project, and questionnaires was used to gather the number of people who used the particular method we were making research on. Yeah, I understand. So you collected data using questionnaires. That's interesting. Yes, data can be collected using questionnaires. Yeah, but then we're going to see some more tools that we can use. I can see Rosette says, Rosette from Uganda. Hello, Rosette. How are you doing? Rosette from Uganda. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, so let's go ahead, right? So let's look at steps to use when uh, using data or insights. What are some steps to use when using data or insights, right? Now, the first thing is to understand the right questions to ask. Understanding the right question to ask is very, very uh, important, because most times, right, you're going to, for you to get data, you have to ask questions. And so depending on the goals that you have, depending on the objectives that you have, you need to be able to formulate questions accordingly, right? So you have to ask yourself, what do I want to achieve from this data? And then from there you ask yourself, what are the right questions that I have to ask, right? What are the right questions that I need to ask, right? This is very, very important. Yeah. So another stuff that you have to do is to identify the best tools you should use, right? What are the tools that you have to use to analyze your data? And we're going to be looking at some also very important. And we're going to be looking at ways you can use to visualize and analyze your data. We're going to be looking at some of those ways, right? So let's look at the first one, which is the right questions to ask. So you have to be able to know the right questions to ask, right? So just in case you may want to help us, could anybody help us with the kind of questions you usually ask to your customers? Right, customer. Yeah. So tell me, what are the kinds of questions you usually ask to your customers? So if anybody could help us reply, your customers. Oh, it seems I'm having some Network issues here. Okay, so let's go ahead. I just want to be sure that. Okay, so let's go ahead. Oh, I can see a question here from Isaac Itikoro says, how did you find our product today? Any feedback? Yes, that's an interesting question, right? That's a question that aims to know the feedback, to have the feedback on the quality of your goods or services, right? Yeah, so let's look at some steps to analyzing data. Like we said, you don't just start by looking for data, right? You have to determine what do you want to achieve, right? You have to define that. What questions do I need to address? You have to draft down your questions. Where do I get the needed information, right? Because after doing that, you have to decide, where to get the information. What do I do with the information, right? We're going to be looking at all of that. So, what is my business objective? You have to be able to define what's your business objective. Because most times, the acquisition of data always starts from a definite objective. Do you want to tell more people about your business? Do you want to sell more of your products? Do you want to identify most valuable customers, which is very important? Do you want to find new ways of engaging previous customers? So, depending on your objectives, you have to create questionnaires accordingly, right? Or create questions, accordingly. So, of course, you have to ask yourself questions like, who is my target audience, and how do I reach out to them online? Right? Are they finding what they need? Right? Are they taking actions? Are they coming back? These are questions that you have to ask yourself, right? Whenever you want to, you know, engage the process. So, where do I get the information? Because once you draft the questionnaire or once you identify the required questions, now you have to define where to send these different questions. You know, where do you send these different questions? Are you going to send them on social media platforms? Are you going to make customer surveys, and feedbacks? What platforms are you going to use to get this information? Now, sometimes you can just send them to your friends through WhatsApp. Sometimes you can send them to, online, or sometimes you can use tools like analytics tools online, which we're going to see. And you can also create polls, like somebody said, she was making polls, right? You can equally create that for your data, right? So let's look at different examples of data sources where you can get sources of data, right? You can get data via social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can get data using your insight. You can get data by organic search, meaning that you just go on Google and type out what you want, right? You'll get data in that direction. You're going to see articles, past works, so many things, that will help you get data. You can get data from your website, and from your website means that you will have to use your Google Analytics, right? And we're going to be looking at that because for you to get data from your website, you have to create a Google Analytics account, and connect that account to your website to be able to see the number of people that visit your website, what they visited your website. And you can also have data through paid search, or through, paid search. You can do paid search through Google Ads, and at ads.google.com. So we're going to look at that. So what do you do when you now have the information, right? Because remember, the first thing is to draft out the questionnaires, the right questions to ask. The next thing is to define where you're going to send these different, questions so that you can get data. Then now, once you do that, you now have to define what to do with the information. Now, for you to define what to do with the information, you have to choose the right visualization technique. How are you going to visualize the data? Are you going to use a bar chart? Are you going to use a pie chart? how are you going to visualize that data, right? Then you also have to regularly update and monitor the visualizations to reflect the recent data. So you have to also make sure that your recent data is is optimized, or your visualization is optimized, right? Another thing you have to do is to identify the key metrics and key performance indicators. You have to be able to define that. You know, how how will I be able to know, right? That I'm actually making progress. You have to define all those parameters. Then, if your business operates across different geographic locations, consider visualizing on maps, right? Visualizing on maps means that if you have data that's spanning across several countries, you might want to consider maps that will allow you to see, the different data in different countries, right? Yeah, so let's look at the importance of insight, right? Importance of insight. So you have to use some tools that you can use, to get insight, right? You have to identify, the latest market trend and insight from the data generated. Now, sometimes the way you can get this information is by going on Google Trends, right? Google Trends is basically trends.google.com, right? So you can go on trends.google.com, and it will help you identify so many trends, in your company. So Diana maybe could drop the link, trends.google.com, that you can use to get a lot of information about, your industry, right? So another important, it helps you to understand how your users make decision and purchase on your platform, right? How do they make decisions? You can have all those informations even in your Google Analytics, right? Another thing is content marketing, right? You have to know the kind of content that will engage your customers, right? And most times, the way you know this kind of content, most times, and this is when you're online, the way you know this kind of content is by creating a lot of content. So most times, the more you create content, the easier it is for you to know the kind of content that speaks to your audience. Then you can leverage your insights to develop your overall business strategy, your social media insights, right? Your website insights, right? Great. Yeah, so we have another pause for questions. And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to let us know in the chat, right? Uh, Akiten Caroline says, how is your experience with our products? Yes, that's a good question too. Swift says, in motor insurance, I ask between comprehensive and third party cover, which do you prefer? Wow, interesting. That's an interesting question to be able to know, how your customers appreciate, or the degree to which your customer appreciates your products or your services. That's interesting. Yeah, so let's go ahead. So if you have any questions, put in the chat. If you don't have questions, we are going to go ahead. So we have less than 30 minutes left. So let's look at some tools, right? Identifying some tools that you can use, to gain insights with your data, right? Already, what are the tools that some of you use to get data? And we had a number of replies. Some people said questionnaires. Some people also said Google form. Yes, those are some tools that you can use to gain data, right? You can use questionnaires, Google forms. But then there are other tools that you can use, right, to get data, like social media tools. For example, you can use your social media insights to get data, right? You can get data through organic search, like I explained. You can get data through Google Analytics, like I explained. And usually, for you to get data through Google Analytics, or through Google Analytics, you have to create an analytics account and connect it to your website, right? And then it will give you all the information you need about your website. You can also get data through paid search, through Google Ads. So as you run Google Ads, you can also get data from there. So let's look at a few insights that might interest you, right? Let's look at a few insights that you can use. Let's look at the Facebook insight, right? The Facebook insight. So what's the Facebook insight? Basically, for you to have information on the Facebook insight, uh, most times you must have a Facebook page, right? If you don't have a Facebook page, yeah. So like I said, if you don't have a Facebook Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me? Can you please hear me? Yeah, so I'll try to share, I'll just share back my screen again so that we can continue from where we stopped, right? Yeah, so of course, if you have any questions, feel free to let us know in the chat. Anything so far that you didn't understand, feel free to let us know in the chat, right? So I'll share my screen. Don't know why it's taking some time. Yeah, so basically we're talking about Facebook insights, right? And the fact that you could, get data from your Facebook insights. And I was explaining that for you to have data from your Facebook insight, you need to have a Facebook page, right? And it goes same for all other social media platforms. For you to have data, you must have a page, right? So usually when you have a page, you will now log into, you now go in your insights, and then you're going to see all the information that you need, right? You're going to see information about the number of people that follow you, where they come from, which kind of people they are. Usually once you have, insight, or once you have a page, you're going to have access to that page, right? Or to that insight tab. I'm not sure why I'm unable to share my screen. Don't know what I should do now. Okay, so I seem to have it back here, right? So we have less than 15 minutes to go. Uh, Great. Okay, I seem to have it back. So let's go ahead then. Let me share my screen. Okay, amazing. So here we have the Facebook page insight. Like I said, this is how the insight of a Facebook page looks like, right? This is how it looks like. You're going to have a lot of information from your insights. Then we have what we call the Google Search Console, right? The Google Search Console will give you access to information about your website visits and interactions or organic interactions with some of your website pages, right? So the Google Search Console will give you a lot of information about your website, right? Like you can see, you see the number, the total clicks, total impression, average position. You're going to see all these things on your Google Search Console. So maybe Diana could drop the link, to the Google Search Console, right? Another thing you have is what we call the Google My Business, right? It's another tool you can use. So the Google, I'm sure um, we had a whole session on the Google My Business profile, right? We had a whole session on that, and so I think that we took a lot of time to talk about it. So the Google My Business profile tool will give you a lot of information, right? It will give you a lot of information, right? And we have the Google Analytics. So the Google Analytics will help you to understand what your customers are doing on your website. So basically, the difference between the Google Search Console and the Google Analytics is that the Google Search Console focuses more on customers, you know, focuses more on the external part, right? So it tells you more about where your customers come from, you know, how they got to you and all of that, whereas the Google Analytics will give you more information about how customers behave when they are in your website. So you need to have a Google Analytics account, and of course, when you have a Google Analytics account, you have to link it to your um, to your website to be able to view all those information, right? So let's go ahead. Of course, if you have any questions, as always, feel free to let us know in the chat, right? Feel free to let us know. Isaac is asking a question. How do I check customers on impressions? Well, to have impressions, just go to any of your insights. Do you have a website, Isaac Otikoro? If you have a website, then you have to create a Google Analytics account, connect your Google Analytics account to your website, right? And then from there, you're going to have all the information that you need, right? Yeah, so if you have any other questions, put it in the chat. So let's look at visualizing, you know, and analyzing your data. Like we said, there are some tools you can use to visualize and analyze your data. And we've spoken about some of them already, like the Google Analytics dashboard. So this is how the Google Analytics dashboard is going to look like. Now, the Google Analytics is very, very important, right? Especially for those who have websites. If you have a website, make sure that you have a Google Analytics uh, account. So uh, uh, um, a Google Analytics account is very, very important, especially for those who have a website, right? Yeah, so let's go ahead. If you have a website, what you have to do is to go to analytics.google.com. So the link has been dropped in the chat. Diana has dropped the link. You can simply, click on the link, create your account, and link it to your website to have all those information. So let's look at how to set up a Google Analytics account. The first thing you do is to go to analytics.google.com, right? Go to analytics.google.com. The link has been dropped in the chat. So once you go to analytics.google.com, they'll ask you to choose a name for your account, right? Sometimes they can, the name could just be your company name. If you have a name as a company, you can put the name of your company there, right? Or after that, they'll ask you to choose the industry or the category, right, of your business. If you're doing into agriculture, you can put agriculture. If it's cosmetics, whatever. If it's education, if it's medical related something, just put your category there, right? It's very, very easy, right? So usually from there, They're going to give you a tracking code, right? That's when you're creating your Google Analytics account. They're going to give you a tracking code, like you can see on the screen, right? A tracking code, which you have to, add to your website. You know, you have to use that tracking code to be able to, um, um, connect to your website. So usually you have to connect it to your website, and then you're going to see a lot of information about that, right? So Swift Bella is saying, how do I get the Google Search Console? The link to the Google Search Console has also been dropped. That's for Swift Bella. The link has also been dropped, right? The link to the Google Search Console. Tofias Lucky says, we really appreciate you for the lessons. Oh, thank you so much for that. So let's go ahead, right? So once you create your account, you'll be given a tracking code, which, or a tracking ID, right, which you have to add, right, to your account, right? And from there, it will link your account, right? So once you do that, what you're now going to be able to have insights about your website, insight about your audience, who they are, who are those. You'll be able to know all those that visit your website. You'll be able to know where they come from, like how did they get to your website. You'll be able to have that information. You'll be able to know their behavior. So when they come to their website, what do they do? How long do they even stay on their website, on your website? You'll be able to know, right? You'll be able to have all those details. Even conversions, you'll be able to know the different places that they click on your website. And of course, if you put a landing page where they can fill a form, you'll be able to even, it have information about them, their emails, their phone numbers, which you can always use for follow up. So this is absolute for those who have websites, right? Really, really absolute for all those who have websites, right? So thank you very much. Actually, we have come to the end of today's session, right? And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to let us know in the chat. We have literally less than 6 minutes remaining, and we have 6 minutes remaining. And if you have any questions, please put in the chat. If you don't have any questions, please, maybe the attendance form should be dropped now. You know, the attendance form should be dropped now. Please make sure you fill the attendance form, right? Make sure you fill the attendance form. It's going to be the only proof that you attended the class, and also you're going to have, a certificate after this, right? So make sure you fill it, and you fill it with the right information. So that was it for today. Thank you very much for coming to today's session. Again, very sorry for all the distractions that we had. Uh, Swift Bella is asking, can the Google Analytics link be can the Google Analytics be linked to the LinkedIn link? LinkedIn link, I don't think so, right? LinkedIn link, I don't think so. No, 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 no. I don't think so. Well, I don't think so. It cannot be linked. Usually, it's for profile for websites. No, it cannot. Right. So thank you very much for that. So we've come to the end of today's session. Right. If you have any questions, ask. If you don't have, we have come to the end. Please make sure you fill your attendance form, and see you next time. Bye bye.